it's Doris with Aldi Books, and I'm here to talk about round 2 of the BookTube prize, in which I read 6 really great books. So let's talk about it. The BookTube prize, if you're not familiar yet, it's new this year. Robert from Barter Hordes has organized it along the lines of a speech debate tournament. So we started out with 48 books. Those were randomly grouped into 6 books each and divided out amongst a pool of judges. We read them and we ranked them, and then Robert has taken that data and now moved on 24 of those books for round 2. So again, they're randomly put into groups of 6, and there's more judges now for each group because there's less groups, and we're just reading the ones we haven't read yet and ranking them again. And I gotta say, it's just been a fascinating process to participate myself, and then to watch the videos of the other judges and see their thought processes. And it's just really neat that it's got this level of transparency so that we can see what people are thinking, but also maintain that individual process. I watched a great video this morning with Eric and Anna talking about the shortlist and the upcoming announcement for the women's prize, and how the dynamic is so different when you've got a group of judges who have to get together and hash it out and talk it out and pick just one winner, whereas me as an individual can, make that decision myself in the BookTube prize, and then those votes then get tallied up together to make that final decision. It's just an interesting spin. I also think I should preface this by telling you that as an individual, I have my own personal taste, as we all do. So what I bring to the table is I'm a very thematic reader. I am not overly concerned with plot and characterization. I like those things. I like the literary merit of a book. I'm really into that. But I go into a book trying to figure out what the author is communicating to me. Or they could be communicating that through characterization or plot, or, structure of the novel, word usage, whatever. But if the author effectively communicates to me, it's a good book for me. I also skew heavily to historical and cultural fiction as opposed to contemporary. And I have my own hang-ups. I don't like self-absorbed, so that's an automatic ding for me. Anyway, knowing me as a judge, you'll be able to kind of see where my decisions come from. But then as a corporate group, it takes away from that idea that my thoughts are the only thoughts and I'm right. Because I gotta say, of these 6 books, 4 of them I could totally see taking the top prize, and I would have no problem with that. One of the 4 is already out because only 3 can advance, and there's some shock value as to what that 4th book was. But yeah, so I just am loving seeing how this all is working together. So let me just jump right in before I lose my train of thought here. Out of the 6 books, I ended up with a group of 3 star reads, three 4-star reads and 3 5-star reads. So it was really hard to rank these, and especially the top 3. It was kind of subjective as to the day of the week it was. They were just all that good. But ultimately it came down to my life experiences. So diving right in, let's just go there. Number 6 was The Immortalist by Chloe Benjamin. I thought this was a well-written book, a really interesting structure. It's divided into 4 parts with the 4 siblings, and thematically she's focusing on what would you do with your life if you knew when you were going to die. So it's a very interesting premise. This book fell short for me because I just got a very pessimistic vibe from it, and again with the self-absorbed, but to me, out of the 4 people, surely one of them would want to, you know, make the world a better place. I just struggle with that. My place in the world is to make, you know, focus on me all that much. This book had negative vibes, and I just didn't enjoy it for that. Also, with the plot, there were things that I didn't love. I'm not into magicians. I thought by the time we got to the 3rd sibling, the scenario just got kind of whacked, and yeah, I just wasn't here for the choices that she made, but I thought the premise was very interesting. Coming in at number 5 was The Mermaid and Mrs Hancock by Imogen Hermes Gowar. This one is gorgeous, but we're not here to talk about the book covers. That's a different prize list, right? But this one started out as just a delightfully raunchy romp through 1785 England. Thoroughly was enjoying it, just really delightful. There were some phrases that she spit out that were just, oh. But we got to the second half, and the plot, the pacing really struggled. I just felt like I was wading through this swamp of melancholy and didn't know when I was ever going to get out. So that made me, you know, thematically I just lost my focus, and it didn't really resound with me and leave me with any deep thoughts. So while I enjoyed it and just that little blip in the plot, but overall it just didn't leave a huge impression on me. But it was still, you know, a solid, enjoyable read. And then we have book number 4. This is The Shocker. Cersei by Madeline Miller. This is my first Madeline Miller. I hear great things about her on BookTube. And this was a really great book. I can totally see this being taught at the high school and really giving a fresh perspective on Greek mythology and introducing the feminist narrative into it in a big way. So yes, definitely. Where this book struggled for me was it was a little boring. I was just too overly familiar with the Odyssey. I've read it too many times on the high school level. I'm a high school teacher. And it just seemed like Madeline Miller had taken all of these myths pertaining to Cersei and in any way and just mushed them all together, and Cersei retold them. And it just wasn't fresh for me. So I liked thematically what she was trying to say, but it just had that little touch of boring. But again, this was a total 4-star read, and I could totally see people loving it. I get that 100%. However, there were 3 other books in the group, and they were flawless for me. So I had to go with the flawless here. So advancing, and I'm proud to say, I don't know why I should be proud, you know, I didn't write them, but I'm super excited that these 3 advance to the next round. Oh, these are great books, people. So, coming in at number 3 is A Ladder to the Sky by John Boyne. This book, if you are into a really great story, this is the one for you. This just is the complete package. Really interesting characters, really gorgeous, well-chosen writing. His depictions of physical attraction are just so artistic, and thematically how he makes you see that you can be like mentally incapacitated by physical attraction, maybe not incapacitated, but making poor decisions, definitely. He brings in a nugget of historical fiction with the Holocaust as just a really minor part of the narrative, but with a major impact. And thematically talking about how a decision that you make in your teens or early 20s can impact you for the rest of your life, and should you be judged by that for the rest of your life, even though what you did, caused people their lives. It's a lot to think about, and the structure of this is wow factor. So I really thought it was impressive the way he switched from third person narrative to second person narrative to first person narrative in the different sections of the story, and it just had a lot of impact. It was used very effectively. So this book is one that I had seen enough people talk about it that I was definitely interested, but it was one that I probably would never have picked up unless I randomly saw it at the used bookstore for a good price, something like that. So I'm so glad I read this. It is great. I highly recommend it. And I can't believe that it's not my top pick. But I bring my own baggage to the table. So another great book, a debut author, A Place for Us by Fatima Farheen Mirza. This one is a Muslim family living on the West Coast in the U.S. The parents are first generation immigrants. The children are obviously then second generation. They've been born and raised in the States. And so you get to see that struggle between the parental values and trying to pass them along to their children in a different cultural environment. You get to see the religious overtones, but those are super interesting in that obviously they're specific to the Muslim faith, but the way they're written, they resonate through whatever your beliefs are. There's something that you would really think about for yourself and where you are in your walk in this world. And then the thing that really hit home with me is, and this is a really minor spoiler. I hate to drop spoilers, but I'm gonna. Addiction. This book is the best that I have ever read about addiction and how it affects the person who struggles with the addiction, how it affects the family and friends. And it really hit home to me. Just that constant questioning that you have looking at someone you love struggling with addiction and wondering what you could have done to make it come out differently, and that guilt and second guessing that you carry with yourself for the rest of your life. Wow. This book, it hurts to read it. It hurts to read it, and it's just so beautifully written. So there's that one. And then coming in at number 1 is Fruit of the Drunken Tree by Ingrid Rojas Contreras. I loved this book. And again, this is one that I hadn't actually even heard more than 1 or 2 people mention it on BookTube. And it was in the back of my mind, but it's probably one that I would have forgotten about just because it wasn't talked about as much. And you know, I can only read so many books in this life, but I am so glad I read this. I absolutely loved it. This is set in Colombia during, I believe, the 70s. So you've got Pablo Escobar like dancing around in the background of the story as this kind of demonic Robin Hood figure. And then you've got this little girl, Chula, who is such a delightful character. I enjoyed every moment with her. And you've got Petrona, who is kind of a teenage girl that's brought into the home as a servant, and their developing relationship. You have this, I lived in Guatemala and Honduras for a year, so I don't feel like I was a part of this story at all, but I was definitely an observer to this socioeconomic structure. And when she writes about the servant's family, Petrona, up in the Bald Hills with, you know, homes built out of found items and water and electricity filtered off of the main line. I've just seen that and been blown away by it. And then when you read about this wealthy family living in a gated community, and you realize that it's a middle-class family. It's not a wealthy family. It's a middle-class family, but the extremes between their lifestyles. And the more you read, the more you process it, and you realize that this middle-class family who is so wealthy over there is living the standard of life that we take for granted here in the United States. And making that connection and knowing how extremely wealthy that we are here in the United States, it's very humbling to read that. But beyond that, this story, it just brings to life the time period and the culture and the characters, and the story just moves along, and I loved every minute of it. And then the ending, I don't need a happy ending, and I don't know that any of these books really had one of those, but this one, I appreciated it because it showed people living with the scars that they carried from the blows that life had dealt them, from decisions they'd made, and just because of the situations that they were in. But yeah, this book, it ended well for me, is what I'm trying to say. It ended making me think, but not making me cry buckets and stay that way. So I really, really, really loved it. I love so many of these books, and I am thrilled to be judging again for round 3. It's getting really excited, really difficult to rank them. And yeah, this is a great system. Thanks, Robert, for organizing it and getting us all excited about it. And yeah, so I'm going to stop there and go start looking for my next set of reads. I got 3 to read, and 3 I've already read for round 3. So some of them I've been tempted, again, so tempted by, and now I get to finally delve in. So thanks so much for watching, and I will be back soon. Bye.